to introduce our panel here. So why don't we start all the way over there from Dave and move this direction.
Hi, I'm Dave Chalker. I'm a freelance game designer. I got my start with this company that, I don't know if you guys have heard of it, called Looney Labs, where I was an intern in 2001.
That's true.
And then my first published game, was in 2007, and had a number of games since. Most recently, Road Vendetta has been my career.
Nice.
I am Angela Bell. I don't know that I would consider myself a game designer. I didn't know anything about games when I made a game, but I was passionate about it because I heard some inaccurate news, information on the news about the FBI, and that sparked me to create a card game about the FBI. I didn't know anything about making card games. I couldn't draw a straight line, so I called a graphic friend and said, hey, can you make some cards? And hence I have a game called How Much Do We Really Know? It's a law enforcement themed card game.
I'm Andy Looney. You might have heard of my game Fluxx. Looney Labs has been in business for 30 years now. And 30 years ago, I was much like you. Like, I don't know how you want to make how do we publish card games? What? We actually started with these pyramid game pieces, which were like, my gosh, how do we get those manufactured? Which actually inspired the invention of Fluxx. But yeah, I've been doing this a long time, so I know a thing or two about making games. And yeah, I'm from one town over, College Park, my hometown.
Can I ask you if sharing a little bit about what first attracted you to games at all? Maybe not even as a designer, just playing games, or what's interesting about games to you?
Well, I've been playing games all my life. I remember playing games with my mom, like games like Sorry and other classic early games. A favorite of mine was a game called Trope, which is very unavailable, and the card game Rook, various others I remember. And I have 3 older brothers, and so gaming was always big in my family. So I wanted to be like them. Like I wanted to learn to play chess like my older brother Jeff, who then kicked my butt repeatedly. But gaming was always a fun thing for the whole family, and I still believe that's one of the best ways people can hang out together. And I do attribute it to my mom in part, though, because I remember her explaining later that with 5 kids, a great way to keep them busy and still get a little bit of work done on the side is to be playing a board game with them. And then like, I can fold some laundry, or I'm in the kitchen for a moment or whatever, and you keep entertaining with the game there, kids. So, I don't know, all my life.
I started from operations. That was my game. Right?
Yeah.
I know I'm telling my age, however, but games like Operation, Monopoly, Sorry, I am like a passionate Uno player. But, working at the FBI didn't find time or take time to de-stress and play games, right? It was only when I'm like, how can I find something or create something where people can get together and talk and communicate and reminisce about their time in the agency. What can I do? Oh, I can play cards. Let's find something where they can get out of their phones. They're not swiping. They are actually sitting and communicating. And that's why I opted to do a card game. Just because of, wanting that interaction. I wanted to commiserate about my time there. So the best way to do that is over a card game, is what I thought.
I also been playing games since I was a kid and played with my family, and my father was a science fiction author, and when we go to conventions and we do signings and panels and such, I would go up to the game room by myself and just, spend 3 days playing games, whoever would do it. And then, as I got into high school, I thought, hey, maybe this is something I can actually turn into kind of a more real career, which I haven't still haven't figured that part out, but, I have designed a number of games. And it was actually after my father passed away, one of my cousins was like, oh, I remember as a kid coming over to Dad's house and he would show us this game that he made. And I was like, he never told me that he also worked on games, but it was very like him to not have told me, like, he knew this is what I was into, but never told me, like, that's what he used to do as a kid.
Wow, I want to know more about that story later on.
Yeah.
Interesting, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh man, both my parents are gone. There's so many questions I'd like to ask.
So we're here in a bookstore. We usually buy books in a bookstore, but there's games here as well. So it's great to be here at a bookstore. I'm curious, what in your mind, what makes games special as a medium, as distinct from books? Because maybe we answer with you. Because you could have written books about why the FBI, like what you don't know about the FBI. It could be a book, it could be a TikTok video or a whole bunch of TikTok videos, but you decide to make a card game. So why a card game and not any of those other things?
I didn't have the patience for a book. Right? So the one thing I did before I retired from the FBI was the branding. So I worked with, and you have authors like Catherine Coulter, you have James Patterson, you say, oh no, I don't want to write a book, right? After you're dealing with them to help them get their books correct. So I didn't have the patience for a book. I also, working there, you don't really do social media, so my social media is a little lacking because you don't really tell people you work at the FBI. Now I'm out telling people I work at the FBI. So it's been a very interesting thing, but I thought a game as opposed to a book because, again, you get to communicate. You get to interact. It's more interactive. My game, I figured, you can go from the teenager to the grandmother. And all of them can have the same shared experience. And the grandmother could say, hey, I remember when Hoover did this. And the kids like, who is Hoover? Kind of thing. And, you had that shared information and that shared experience. So I thought, in that sense, a game was better than a book. Because, everybody writes books about their cases or my time at the FBI or I hate this person. Who wants that? Let's find something fun and interactive. And this is the first in the history of the FBI. They said that they've had anything similar to this. So that was kind of cool as well.
Yeah, I've never heard of an FBI game.
Cool. Yes.
Well, it's an interesting comparison because I kind of backed into becoming a game designer. It was never my goal. My goal was to be a writer and write books. And one of my first efforts was a long short story in which I described characters playing a game. And described in just the right amount of detail to be intriguing, but not actually enough to know how to play the game, because it wasn't a game. I hadn't worked it out. It was like Quidditch, It's just a plot device. And by the way, everybody loved this game. This game was like the greatest game since Jesse Backend, because I said it was. And then my friends were like, hey, what's that game that's so good and all? The story's okay, but I want to play that game.
I've heard it's really great.
And I never was able to come up with a game at first, because I didn't have a game. It was hard enough to figure out how to write a bunch of fiction stories. But my good friend John Cooper, who is also a game designer with increasingly impressive prints, his current one is called The Gang, and it's a big hit, actually. We should have had him in here. He's also from the DMV. Next time?
Next time?
Yeah. Anyway, he was the first to take my ideas that I described in this book and come up with an actual game you could play using the pieces that another friend had made to be like the ones in the book. Like, make a game. And that was the game, again, with the pyramid. Oh, yeah, I have some here. Let me pull that out. That was the game that made my wife say, these pyramids are killing me. I wish you'd invent a card game. I could get a card game printed like that. And that was when I invented Fluxx. But these are the gaming pyramids originally called Ice House pieces. They're now called Looney Pyramids. They come in 3 sizes and lots of colors. They stack and nest. They can be used for lots of different games. They started with this one game called Ice House that John created, but then we started coming up with other games. It took us 8 years to think of the idea of coming up with other games. But then once we did, we went crazy. There's now hundreds of games you can play with these pyramids, including my very favorite, also by John Cooper, called Homeworlds, which, if you can beat me at, I'll give you a medal.
Just thinking about somebody who designed a deck of cards to just play blackjack or something. They're like, what if we did some other games with this?
It's exactly the case. We came to realize that these poker cards could be used to play games other than poker, and yet that's still not my biggest hit. I think that 100 years from now, I think that will be the thing I'm most remembered for. But can I share it? How many people have already heard of my card game Fluxx? Raise your hand. How many had heard of the pyramid? Okay, more than I might have thought. But like half of the number who heard of Fluxx. Anyway, I like books.
I guess your family likes books too, right, Dave?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, his famous science fiction author Jack L. Chapman.
I grew up around a lot of books.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did not strictly follow in the family business. Games to me, first of all, not being as much work is very real to put together and try out, but also I think there's something about the experience that really makes it unique versus all those other art forms. You know, it's why I'm not like I don't make video games. Like I appreciate when I play them, but it's like such a different experience to me to have tangible things, especially around the table with a number of people and the stories that creates that way. It really is unique in how this play out.
So this is kind of an overlapping question, but I'm curious how your background, everything you had growing up, or your job, or your family life, any of that, has informed the way that you create games.
Well, I think you have the most direct answer there.
Right.
Well, I was a spokesperson for the FBI. So if you had a question and you called the FBI, you talked to me. So basically, I had to know a little bit of everything. I had to be like a jack of all trades, right? You had to know a little bit of everything. The cases all over the world, we had to know just everything. So when I'm looking at the news during the insurrection and I hear an inaccurate statement, naturally, of course, I'm talking to the DV saying that's not accurate. Because, of course, you work there and you got to know a little bit of everything. So because of that, and because I have the Pattersons and all of the authors that I had worked with, the Mel Gibsons and all of the movies and the books, and helping them with the authenticity of their scripts and movies and documentaries, I have the information there. So when I'm thinking of like what would be a good pop culture movie to put in the book, of course I'm going to say Silence of the Lamb. I can start naming all of the stuff that was easy to put. So it didn't take me very long to kind of like put all this stuff down to put in the game because of the fact that it was just what I was familiar with. So I tend to just kind of lean into that, saying, okay, let's purge the FBI out. You're retired now. Let's purge it out and let's see what becomes of that.
So did you have these people calling you, Hollywood calling you and asking these questions?
Yes, yes. I have probably 800 or more books that if you look in the acknowledgement, my name's in it. Because I had to help the authors with their stories, movie scripts. If you watch Mindhunter on Netflix, that's mine. Tower Heist with Ben Stiller, that's mine. I mean, I could just kind of go on and on and on, but, you know, most people are like, who at the FBI is doing, you know, TV movies and books? That ultimately ended up being me. I was like heavy into the branding. You know, saying basically, not that we want to change what you're writing, but if you want to make it as accurate as possible, then, you know, you call me. Or, you know, I take you down to the Academy. David Fincher, all of the, you know, Hollywood folks, in your raggedy jeans and shoes, sneakers, you take them down to the Academy and let them go through the course. My very first project or introduction to that was Silence of the Lamb when I got to the FBI. They were making Silence of the Lamb. And, you know, I was like, the FBI? I left Alabama to come make movies? You know, I didn't understand that whole component, but I was in the press office, so whenever something was happening in the world, I'm like, I don't want to talk to the reporters. This is stressful. I want to go back to that movie office. So that's kind of like, but that is basically, I was just what I was familiar with. And it was easy to kind of read it.
Well, I watch a lot of movies, and I watch a lot of TV, and I call myself a garbage in designer because it's, you know, the stuff I take in, I'll always like, you know, hone in. The games later right here, you see it describes this triangle of how to start a new game, where you can either start from a mechanic or a theme or components, or somewhere kind of along that triangle. So, you know, I have games where I started from a theme of, you know, I wanted to make, you know, like a Mad Max inspired car shooting game, but I also Get Bits, you know, which is a game about being eaten by a shark. A friend of mine went on honeymoon, bought a shark piece from Hawaii, handed it to me and said, make a game with this. And I'm like, okay. So, some things just start from wherever.
Well, I was previously a computer programmer. In fact, I worked for NASA for 8 years. That's where I met my wife, who I run a company with now. And so we were NASA engineers. That's why we don't know how to run a game company. We're programmers and engineers. But actually, I did find that my skills as a programmer kind of apply rather well to the writing of rules documents, because there's a lot of similarity between a set of computer instructions and a set of game instructions. And the big problem, though, is that the computer will do exactly precisely what the program says to do. The human computers will kind of skim over the program, skip around, say, let's get started. I haven't read the whole thing yet, but I'll look at those subroutines when I need to. And then, if it doesn't work, like, hey, your program didn't work. Did you follow the code? But it does require the same level of thinking. You've got to figure out all the air-conditioned situations that you have a track for and a subroutine to handle. You've got to have clauses in the rules for what happens if somebody runs out of cards or whatever. It's a lot of similarities. So I do say, if you're thinking of becoming a game designer, it did well for me to have studied computer programming before that. I wouldn't have known that, but it worked out that way.
I tend to think that kind of three styles of game designer, computer programmer is one of them, and then writer is another one, but obviously there's overlap between these.
And then former FBI agent.
Someone with no experience whatsoever. You can't even draw a straight line. You can't design. You can't, you can't color. You can't do anything, but you can talk. Right? That's all you need to articulate.
I think Dave actually had a real third.
I was actually thinking, how does this actually fit into my theory? Like designer / artist is kind of the big one.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily where you came from. It's just kind of like your style of making
Yeah.
things in a way, and where you kind of put things together.
All right. Well, so what were the three? Programmer, artist, writer?
Program artist, right?
Right, okay. All right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you have a favorite story of someone enjoying, or maybe not enjoying, one of your games?
I have many, many, many stories. I have so many stories of people who met and fell in love because of playing my games, or proposed to each other because of games. But the one that occurs to me right now is a letter we got pretty recently that sticks in my mind of a couple who the woman had some sort of tragic accident that had left her not functioning mentally properly, and I don't want to try to describe the details. I don't remember them. The point is that Fluxx had been incredibly therapeutic for them. They played it like every night. The letter was all about how much it helped bring her back and help her recover and become more of herself, and just how much the game meant to them. It means a lot to me.
Okay, to piggyback off that, but just Tuesday this week, I got a call from the director of nursing home, something or the other in Connecticut, and she said that the nursing homes there were using my game for the patients, the mental patients, so that they can have recall, and how much that they've noticed how they're interacting more. They now have story times because they are law enforcement folks who are in the nursing home. It's allowing them to tell their stories, and I'm thinking, how do you go from the FBI to like the nursing home? I never even thought of the nursing home and the fact that they can actually use the game for mental recall, or use the vocabulary terms that's included in the game to kind of like help them like recall the information. And I was just so blown away by that. I was like, I'm thinking recruitment, I'm thinking, grandma, I'm thinking, criminology students. I was never thinking how it could mentally help someone. And that just kind of like just brought tears to my eyes. I was
Yeah,
like,
that's-
that's like
yeah.
touching.
Yeah,
I was
absolutely.
just like touched by that, and that just happened on Tuesday.
I really appreciate you two had positive stories there because my brain is always remembering the bad stuff first and skipping over a lot of the positive things. And this is just one of my favorite game design stories. So at Looney Labs, we were doing game night. I used to attend when I was running the games that I'm working on. And, you know, a group of us game designers would try the games out over and over again. And there was one of those weeks when I brought something I was working on that was very new, you know, it was early in the design, and there happened to be a reporter there who was reporting on Looney Labs also, you know, game stuff in College Park and everything. And the reporter was taking notes and asked a few questions, and you know, I thought the playtest went fine. I was like, it's an early, you know, early games are always bad, right? And then you work on them, things better. It's like there was no part of it that stood out to me. Then the article comes out, and the reporter describes it as excruciating, and the game designers were like, oh, we have so much work to do, and sighed and dealt another hand. And I'm like, boy, either I put a filter on that, or he took away something very different than I did there. So I always wanted to start a company called Excruciating Games.
What was the game?
Something that didn't go anywhere.
It didn't go anywhere.
Yeah. But it wasn't that bad.
It wasn't because of this, right?
Right, exactly. I still worked on it after that article.
Well, and sometimes game design is excruciating. I mean, some of my best ones are the ones that seem to pop fully formed out of my head. I've had ideas in dreams that have turned into games. I've had, you know, just be kind of brainstorms, and very quickly the whole thing is there. But then other times, months or years, even I've had a couple of games take a full decade to come to fruition.
And different from these two because I'm a freelancer, you know, I'm a partner with another company to publish my games because they don't go sell. So there are games that I feel like I've got done that people tell me, oh, this is the best thing you've ever done, and they're like 100% build it, and you just can't get anyone to pick it up and publish it. And, you know, it's things that fall in a lot of pieces, so it's not like I'm able to just kind of fund it myself, you know. And that can be frustrating, just like, this is a great game, you'll make money, please, publish it. But, you know, that's what every game designer tells them, so.
Yeah, we have an interesting cross-section of the industry here, because Dave represents the freelance designer who creates a design and gets it published by another company, often with an excruciating process. And then Angela and I represent the entrepreneurs who start their own company as the way to start, because basically that is the only two options. You invent a game, you either beg someone else to publish it, or you start a company to publish it yourself. And you're at the beginning of that journey, and I'm an old guy at the end of that journey. Been along on that journey a long time.
I didn't know.
But you may end up becoming a whole series of games that you publish as well. You know?
Well, I've had people like, are you going to make a game about the post office? Or, you know, I didn't really decide to do this, but they're like, oh, there's so much you need to know about the post office. I'm like, well, I don't think I'm going to get about the post office.
Well, but maybe your next game is from a freelancer.
It could be. It could very well be. But I didn't know. I was like, okay, I'm standing in Target, and I'm like, how do they do this? How do they get a barcode? What are these acronyms on these boxes? Like, and I know the people in Target probably thought, why is this woman in here today? I'm self-publishing. I'm new to this. I didn't know that there was like a Kickstarter or people who would give me money, right, to make the game. So I'm thinking, hey, let me get my friend together. I'm like, pull her out of retirement, because she retired from the FBI as well. I'm like, hey, you got some money? Maybe we get some money, and we can put the money together, and then we can kind of do this. It's more of a hobby for us, right? But we decided, hey, let's find someone to do the graphics, and let's just figure it out. So I'm like, you know, we work for the FBI. We know how to do shit. Like, let's just, we can get it done. And that's what we set out to do. And never thought about the whole business component of it. Like, oh, you got to trademark it. You got to do this and you got to do that. But it was a very interesting learning process.
Yeah, well,
Very interesting.
the more you learn, there is to learn.
Without a doubt.
And then they change it on it.
Absolutely. And Amazon, don't get me started.
So can I build on this actually? Because
Amazon.
what is something that most people don't know about the business of either making or publishing, it's probably the same thing, making a game that the public can buy?
It's not easy. I would
That's
say
true.
it's not easy.
Yeah.
It takes a determination, dedication, and money. Long and short, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, because what happens is you run into a lot of obstacles, and you're trying to figure out how do I get over those obstacles and finally get my game from concept to table.
Yep.
You know, how do I do this? You know, and how much money do I need to like publicize it? If you're not on YouTube and you're not a TikToker, and you know, you're kind of, how do you get it out there? So you got to spend the money. And then, you know, then Amazon is a totally different, like, it's on a different planet by itself. Because no one tells you that, oh, okay, for every time a person picks up your game and put it in a box to send to that Prime member, this is how much you have to pay, right? Or this is how much you have to pay to be on that platform. So when I say it's expensive and it's money, I mean those types of things. And then now Amazon keeps changing their compliance. Well, kids were, at one point when I started the journey, 12. Now they're 13. And now it might be 11. So you have to jump through all of the legal hoops, and you got to test the games, and you got to go through all of their compliance. And it's like, why am I doing this? I need to be retired, sitting in the park, reading a book. But it's been exciting though. It's been very exciting. It's taken me to places that I, you know, meeting people, talking to people, and it's just been really kind of cool in that sense. But it's been hard. Mainly because there's a lot I don't know, right? I'm coming in this no experience whatsoever in the gaming industry, no experience in, you know, publishing or manufacturing or, you know, just talking to the people at the post office about how you get your game from, that part. You know, so it's a lot. It's been a lot. It's a self-publishing.
It
But
is
very
a lot.
rewarding.
It absolutely
Yeah.
is. And it's like you talked about how I should be retired. I'm not anymore. You're an entrepreneur now. And when you're an entrepreneur, you're always at work.
Always.
Always.
Always. I feel retired because there are days when I'm like, hey, I want to go take a nap, and I go take a nap. Because I'm like, I'm
You're
retired.
retired
Let's
from
go
your
take a
first
nap.
career, and you're into your
Absolutely.
new one. And that is,
It's a job.
you think about it all the time. You wake up in the night. What about thing X?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything else that people don't know about the magic of game design and game publishing?
I mean, one thing that I'm sure this crowd is sympathetic towards, like, I would love to be able to tell America, is that there's so many parts of game, like the games of your childhood, that cannot be made in the United States, like for any affordable amounts, you know, like those factories just do not exist here, like the supplies don't exist here, and that's why so many of these things are made overseas, you know, like, and I know Looney Labs has always looked at printing in the US whenever possible. It's just not, it's expensive.
Now,
it's
those
not
pyramids I showed you were made in China. Because once upon a time, when we first made them 25 years ago, we did get a factory to make them in Baltimore. But then, over time, they couldn't keep doing it affordably, and now they're out of business. And the only place we can get them made is China. And we can get card games printed here. There's a lot of printing of cardboard done in Battle Creek, Michigan, and elsewhere. But plastics manufactured, and dice, forget about it.
dice and, you know, your metal Monopoly top hat and dog and everything, and like,
Yeah.
you know,
All that stuff, we don't have the manufacturing capability here in America anymore, and wishing to have it come back with tariffs is magical thinking that does not work. It just hurts small businesses. I mean, and this, I gotta say, we have, again, some of our games are printed in America, but our reprints, which we do in smaller quantities, we like to gang together, and we have a print run right now that is happening in China that suddenly it's going to cost us another 100%? Are you kidding me?
So I know I didn't prep this question for you, but now that you've opened it, like, what are you comfortable sharing? Like, what is the dollar impact of that 100% on your?
Well, I mean, on the face of it, it more than doubles the cost that we have to pay to get our product. And there's the 10-to-1 rule, which says that you should be getting your product made for basically you should be marking your product up 10 times what you paid to make it. And you then pay, you knock half that off for wholesaling. And then there's this whole layer of industry that I'm sure, here's something, you wanted something you don't know anything about. Distributors. Who knows what a game distributor is? So there are classically three tiers of sales in the game industry. You've got manufacturers who sell to distributors, and they sell to game stores, retailers. The retailers want to be able to have one-stop shopping, so they just want to be able to order up all the new games to restock for this month, for this week, and just order from a distributor called, say, Alliance. And Alliance has a huge warehouse with a little bit of everything made by all these different companies they work for. And then they pick and pack it, and then they order from us. And so the distributors, they want 60% off. So, when you take that 10% that we should be able to pay for the product to get made, and you double that, it just doubles all the way down the line. How are we supposed to say this? And news, whatever, not news, the key point, no one gets 10 to 1. That's impossibly hard. That's like pie in the sky. Oh, you should be lucky to get 6 or 7 to 1. If you're getting those kind of numbers, you still have to cut it in half. It's a really difficult thing to make a living in this business.
Amazon, as you say.
Oh my God.
And it's this whole other part to it.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, because what happens is a lot of people say, oh, when you're looking at Amazon, you're scrolling through and you see something, you just click on it. Well, for every time you click, the sellers, such as, we have to pay for it, right? For every click, there's a click fee. So now, if you're actually going to buy that game, Amazon says, okay, for every person that orders your game, I'm going to charge you $6 off of the price of what you charge on the platform. So automatically, like he's saying, we're at a loss already. Oh, well, by matter of fact, because we are Amazon, you got to pay me $30 to be on the platform. Right? So, and by the time you finish, they're like sending you $14.
And
You're
don't
like,
even
wait a
get
minute.
started on product testing.
Oh my God. I get the product testing, right? So they're basically saying, hey, we want to know if someone chews on your card, they're not going to get, lead. So I need you to send it to this lab, and the lab has to give me a 50-page testing report that says that, if someone sues us, we're not going to have to spend money.
Yeah, but
then you got to spend $1,200 for that.
Yeah, and if you have a product line like we would with a lot of different products in it, and each of them has to be tested separately, and then they come down and say, we're changing the things, everything has to be retested.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
And then it gets into your hands and the customer's hands. They're like, why is this game so expensive? It's just paper.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
But not thinking of all of the other steps to get it to you.
Yeah.
But everyone's like, are you on Amazon? Are you on Amazon? Because I fought it as long as I could. Everyone, are you on Amazon? Amazon. I was like, because I'm like, hey, a lot of our retirees, they're old, they don't know, like,
You have to be on
website.
Amazon.
You have to be on Amazon.
It's
a necessary.
Like it or not, it's the world's shopping center at this point.
So, but you have to spend money to get on it. But when you're clicking and you're not thinking about who's paying for the click every time you click on it to see it.
But then when you are on Amazon, you still have to constantly be playing the game. Right now, we're in the midst of trying to rewrite all of our Amazon product descriptions
Change your
to
picture.
optimize for the search engine.
Yes.
So we're writing for computers to make sure it's using all the right magical search words, so that it comes up in the
algorithm.
It's a whole thing.
The alternative is, before you leave today, you can just go up to that counter right there.
That's right.
And support your local bookstores or your friendly local game shop, where we're here to be part of that community. Now that you've made it sound awful and terrible to make games,
Not for me.
what advice do you have for people who are aspiring game makers or game publishers or any of the above? Game marketers?
My number one is don't quit your day job. Make
Absolutely.
sure you have a day job. Line up your day job
Yes.
and be a game designer as a hobby first, and don't expect to. And I say this as a person who is a full-time game designer making his living doing that. You can't expect to do what I've done. I was incredibly lucky to have that hit Fluxx. Fluxx has opened so many doors for us because it's got a magic to it that all my other game designs hate Fluxx because it's so successful, and nothing else can seem to touch that. If it weren't for Fluxx, I'm sure I would still be working for NASA with a part-time job of trying to create the next big hit game.
Is Fluxx like Freebird and you're like, can you please stop requesting this song because I'm so tired of playing it, or do you still love Fluxx?
Oh, I still love Fluxx. I'm always happy. Partly, I keep it fresh by creating new versions of it. Cat Fluxx. By the way, I should.
Yeah.
Cat Fluxx just came out, and this is our 47th version of Fluxx. And so that means when Dog comes out, it'll be the 48th. Would you like a copy of my game? Dave, you haven't got a copy of this yet, have you? How about one for you? Anybody else want one?
We're just giving it.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Door prize, who knew?
Talk about how you can't make a living off of it. You're
Yeah.
getting away for free.
My company gives me a full case of each game every time I make it. So it's true. I have a contractual deal that each time we make a new game, I get a case, and I love being able to. Hey, when friends come over that week, hey, my new game came in. Who wants a copy? Everybody gets a copy. And then I still have like 24 copies in my box, and like they're written off for me. So I like to give my games away.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's very generous.
But I would definitely piggyback off what he said, and it's a hobby for me. It's a hobby job. I can stop today and never have to worry about it. But I definitely would not say do this for a living, because you're going to spend more money than you're going to earn, right? So I definitely would say, keep your full-time job and do it as a hobby, and have patience, because it can take a while. And and you have to find the right people who can get on the same page with you at your vision. Because I was like, no, this is what I want the box to look like. I know I can't draw it, I can't make it, but I can tell you what I want it to look like. So you have to have the patience for that part. And just trying to find people who you think you can work with. Everyone, just understand that everyone's going to have their hands out. I mean, you got the reps, you got all of these people who want to get paid, so just understand when you're going into it, you're not going into it to get rich. Some people may, but that's not the goal. It's just because I get the satisfaction of knowing that some family or, somebody's playing this game and they're like discussing it, or, this one agent called and said, hey, I was able to sit down with my family and try to explain to them what I do by playing your game. So I get the satisfaction from that, but it's not about getting rich.
No, it's absolutely not. I'm quite successful, but I'm far from rich.
Yes.
And the richness I get is the stories I hear of people having fun playing my games.
Yes.
And that's incredibly valuable,
It is.
but it doesn't pay.
I have a great job. But it really, sometimes it feels like, driving for Uber in my off hours or something, like it's my side hustle, but also I've been known to steal time during my day job to work on game things, but don't tell anybody. But it's not quite as all-encompassing as running your own business, but there still is a lot to it, and it can be a lot, but yeah, and the payoff really is when the game gets out there and people are enjoying it.
Yep.
Regardless.
Any questions from the audience?
Well, first of all, thank you. This has all been really fun. And I do have a question, but I just want to say quickly a quote from an article I read as someone who grew up with games that I loved, which was when people played cards as a family, the adults got to feel like kids and the kids got to feel like adults. Always stuck in my mind. But I created a civic curriculum called Civics in 7 Steps, which is about how everyone should listen, learn, choose, join, speak, act, and lead. This is for grades 3 to 5. And I have a vision to create a board game I'm very interested in the educational use of games. Obviously, everything you've done is educational in its own way, and also therapeutic, as you've described. But I wonder if there are any books or resources or websites or YouTube videos that help you kind of get from the concept to the reality, because I have a vision in my mind, a game that's kind of like Monopoly, but not, where people get to take 7 steps to democracy, but don't know how I would then make that concrete, if you see what I mean.
So educational games are kind of, an interesting animal, and you sort of have to decide for yourself if the goal, again, is like, is it just to educate people, or do you want to run a business, or do you want to make a great game? And you would love for that answer to be, I want to do all three, but I really can't in a lot of
Well, it would
ways.
be under the umbrella of the nonprofit that distributes the curriculum. So it's already, we have the institution to support the product and to get it into the hands of kids.
Right, but the goal of making an educational game doesn't always jive with, this is a game I want to bring home and play all the time,
It has to be fun as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it has
Yeah.
to be more engaging as well as educational, right?
Right.
I spend a lot of time on Reddit.
On Reddit?
Looking at the gamers, listening to what they're saying, their advice on how to make these types of games. You're talking educational. I would also loop in some folks from the education department, Department of Education, because they are the ones who might help move the game forward, right? You want to make sure that it falls in line with what they would teach or what you would teach, or you have to have a little bit of legitimacy to it, I guess, if that's what I'm thinking. You need somebody else to kind of like back it up, basically, in addition to you trying to figure it out. You can have someone to lay it out. I mean, Gene can lay it out, right? Gene can lay out the game for you. I mean, you know what I'm saying? He can lay out the whole concept for you, but you got to make sure that the information is up to par.
Well, it's a tricky ask, because you can't do everything. And the two big things you're trying to do here are make a game that's fun and make a game that's educational. And at some level, one of those is going to butt heads with the other, and you have to, which is more important? Is it more important to be teaching your message, or is it more important that the players have fun and want to play again? And it's the risk is that if your message is too heavy-handed, it won't be a fun game. And maybe they'll play it once, and maybe that's fine because they'll have gotten the lesson from it. But with game design success, we want them to want to play it again and again and again. My favorite 3 words in the English language, well, there's context here, but are "let's play again." Now, I like it when they're talking about one of my games, but if that's like the ultimate test, it's like if we just finished playing it, that was so much fun, let's play again. There you got a hit. And if they're like, wow, I really feel like I learned a lot of things from that game, what else can we do now? Maybe you succeeded at the first part because it's educational. But if it's not going to be a fun game, I don't think it's really going to go anywhere.
So like one of rated one of the best games of all time is a game called Twilight Struggle, which was also designed by somebody in this area that's about the Cold War, and it is educational, but that's like when you play it, you are making these decisions that can lead to things that are way different than what actually happened in the Cold War, right?
Yeah.
Like it's all in service of the game and making it so that like the two sides to it feel like they both have a chance to win, and why they make these decisions and everything. So there's actually some amount, like, the cards that are in the game are real things that happen, but at some point the fact that like it's an engaging game that anyone can win fights with the educational value of it, because there really was a winner anyway of how this historical event played out, and you're also playing these cards in like a different order than they actually happen. So like that's an instance where the choice was made, they were going to make it like more on the like strategy game compelling side than the educational side, and I think those are some of the things you kind of have to weigh.
So I'm going to break my role as moderator for a second and jump in as a pseudo-panelist. I used to be the executive director of iCivics, which made video games about civic education. So video games, not board games. But everything that Angela said in particular is right on. Like, you have to be aligned. If you want to be educational K-12 education, maybe you don't mean K-12 education, right? When in the industry, when you say educational, you often mean K-12 education, something you're selling through schools. In that case, you better be like aligned to the Common Core and all the other things that are out there in terms of standards, or else you're not going to be able to sell into schools. Yeah. If, on the other hand, you're trying to get parents who want to do goodies with their kids, that's a little bit of a different market. I will say one suggestion for anybody who's interested in learning about game design is join a local group that's doing this kind of a thing. We happen to have a ton of them here in the DMV. So there's Break My Game. They meet in 5 different locations all over the DC, Maryland, Virginia area every month. That's a lot of opportunities for you just to see how other people are designing games, and by talking to people and seeing how they design games, it's a great way to absorb how to do that. We also have the Unpublished Games Network. It happens to have its national conference right here at BWI every year in March. So there's a ridiculous amount of support for anybody who's interested in just even dipping their toe into game design. Just go to one of these events, just see how people are doing it, talk to people. We're extraordinarily friendly, extraordinarily welcoming to people who want to try all sorts of crazy things, and just come to one of these events and join a community. That's one of the best ways to learn how to do anything, really.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So sorry to break my role there
No,
as moderator,
I
but
can't
yeah.
believe you
No,
were
it's all good
civics.
stuff.
That's
Yeah.
very
Absolutely.
impressive.
Yeah. I always say advice for would-be game designers is to play a lot of games.
Yeah.
Play, and not just play one game over and over again. Play as many different games as you can. See how it works. Get your sense of what this game brings to the table as far as interesting mechanics, and then move on to another. Because you're trying to make something that hasn't been done before. So you got to know what's been done.
Other questions?
You in particular talked a little bit about how one of the advantages of games is how fast you can get them to the table and start trying them out. I'm curious about everybody's prototyping process and how many things you're usually juggling at a certain time, how quickly you go from an idea to putting it in front of other people, what that process looks like for you.
Yeah, I mean, the number one piece of advice I give to people designing their game is to get it to the table, it can be a marker scribbled on index cards, and it doesn't have to be a full game. People obsess about well, are these things balanced? Don't worry about any of that stuff. That's later on in the process. Just whatever form you would find it instructive to learn something, to see if there's the core of an idea. I always say, get that to the table, and you have to have patient playtesters. You have to have people who are willing to sit with this stuff for you, and you often have to remind people the goal here, be honest, and the goal is not to win per se. Obviously you want to be motivated by it. Our goal here is to try and figure out what the best version of this game is. So if you see someone use a strategy or whatever, that's not the goal of this. That's good to know. We'll have to deal with it at some point, but it's just get something to the table, work on it, throw stuff out, try something else. Just do that however you can.
So what I did was, I went to the dollar store. I went to the dollar store, I bought these decks of cards. I printed out all of my trivia questions and everything. I cut and paste. It was like a cut and paste art project, right? So everywhere that I would go, I didn't know that there was an unpub where you can actually take your game and they would break it and they say, hey, this is what's wrong with it. So everywhere I would go, I'm at the spa in Pennsylvania. Don't know the ladies. They're from Kentucky. I'm like, can you play this game? So everywhere that I would go, I had retired FBI. I had local police. I just tried everyone in a variety of different types of people to play. So, and once I did that, I would walk around with the box of little, they were peeling, but it worked, right? So when I actually got to the prototype part, he gave me a prototype. I was like, okay, this is what it's gonna look like. But I started with something as simple as the dollar store. Printed it out on paper, cut and pasted it, and I actually, what I felt like had 500 cards that I would carry around and tell people, can you play? And tell me what you think. And they're like, oh, I watched the news and that FBI this. I'm like, well, what about the game? What do you think about this? And do you think it's something that I should release? Would you buy it? Those were the questions that I would ask. Okay, forget that I worked there, but would you buy this? Would this be something that you would find interesting, even though you didn't work there? So I did it that way because I didn't know that all of these other avenues existed.
You actually went to a far more diverse group of audience than you would have gotten from any of
I'm
these
sure,
guys, so that's
they're
amazing.
like, we came to the
That's the
spa
target audience.
just to relax. We did not come to play FBI.
So I just gave you cat Fluxx. The next one out is going to be dog Fluxx, and this is one of my prototypes. And so my 4 words are whole sheet sticker paper. I use so much whole sheet sticker paper. because you can format up your cards or your boxes, your game elements, whatever you want. Print the whole sheet, scissors it up, stick it on old cards,
Yes.
old boxes, whatever you want. So this is some other box, and the cards I use you can feel this. It's like a sticker on top of a card, and sometimes I'll just reuse old cards if it's a card that hasn't changed. I can just pull one out of another deck. But yeah, and like he said, don't worry about how it looks at first. Just get something that you can see if it plays. See if is this fun, or is this activity? If it's part of a whole bigger game and everything in the whole game works. Do we like this activity? Yes. And kind of build on that. Huge believer in the iterative process. Start with something, then add to it, then add to it, then add to it. Tweak it, tweak it, tweak it. Make it a little bit better as you go each time. So, yeah. The other thing is clip art. I feel free to use all the clip art you find on the internet for your things as stand-in art. It's fine when it's just yours. As long as you're not printing it and trying to sell it, you can fair use it all day, and it gives a sense of what you want your art to look like. And then later, when it becomes a published thing, the art will all be redone.
Andy actually has a diagram of like the playtesting process that's like a big circle. My favorite part of it is that it has a step called Get Defensive and Brew.
Exactly so. Yeah. And then,
So that's very hard.
that's everybody's favorite part of that diagram. It's the opposite part of the sweet spot. The sweet spot is when you've got your design all worked out, you've got all the cards cut, the rules written, ready to try playing it with somebody, and you haven't, and we don't have to play yet. Let's enjoy this moment where, in my mind, it works perfectly. As soon as you start trying to play it, I hadn't thought, no, that's not going to work. You're right. Back to the drawing board, or should I say, back to my cave to get defensive and brood. You just not playing it right.
I think we have time for one last question. Any more questions?
I played a game in the 80s called Thunder Road. Inspirational for you for your game, or?
Yeah, so I co-designed a game called Road Vendetta, which is a re-implementation of a game I didn't design from 1986 because I was very young when it came out.
I did play it when it came out.
And that one was unique. Like, not all the stories worked this way, but I'm very fortunate that this is kind of how it worked out. That it was a game that I had really enjoyed. There was a friend of mine who was also a game designer who had kind of started coming up with just like house rule kind of stuff for it. And he and I were like, hey, what if we actually like try to pitch this? And there's a company called Restoration Games. Well, all they do is they take an old game and make like a new version of it up to modern game design standards. Because that company existed, we were able to go to them and say, hey, we have this workup for Thunder Road that you haven't done, and I know this is something that people have asked for, or are you interested in seeing it? And they saw it, and they had good things to say, and they were like, and now change everything about it. Because initially we had actually been too faithful to the original, and they were like, here's the things that like modern audiences expect. But then there were things where we were like, okay, we're gonna, there are little helicopters in the games, they have little spinning rotor blades and plastic pieces. And at one point we suggested to them, well, we don't really need these helicopters, they could be like motorcycle gangs or something. Or think about Tyler, like, no, people love the helicopters with the spinning blades, there's no way we're taking them down.
Good, yeah.
Okay, done.
That would have been great.
Well,
You gotta be able to flick the blades. It's part of the fun.
case in point.
All right. Well, so once again, thank you very, very much for being on this panel. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you, people as well. Be sure to get a copy of any of these games on your way out. And I guess we also saw the worldwide premiere of Dog Fox. Is that right?
Not exactly. I mean, it's still not officially released, but it is at the printer.
Nice.
This isn't even a final version of the box. The real thing is, instead of cutting off straight, it's going to have the dog's tongue come down into your It's going to be super cute.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.